All right, good evening, Girl Scout volunteers. Welcome to this evening's Cookie Bites webinar. Tonight, we're focusing on your troop's initial order, which is always a popular one and have a lot of questions. So we do ask, as this is being recorded, to please make sure that you are on mute. And if you have a question during the presentation, please type it in chat. And then at the end, once we stop recording, we can certainly take questions verbally or continue to put them in the chat. But we want to make sure that we have a clean recording so that we can post it for the other volunteers who weren't able to join us this evening. I'm Michelle Johnson. I'm the Director of Product Programs, and joining me this evening, as always, is Whitney Smith, our Product Programs Manager, and you'll hear from Whitney a little bit later during this webinar. Just a reminder, if you've not joined us for one of these webinars before, we do have a series of these throughout the season to talk about topics that are relevant to that time of the season. So whether it be a big event coming up or an upcoming deadline that we know that there's always a lot of questions around. So we've covered three dates already. This is the fourth, and make sure that you add to your calendar next Thursday. Join us for best practices for cookie money management for volunteers. We're going to have our controller from the finance department joining us to talk about that. So always important information, especially if you are first time managing finances for your troop or as a cookie manager. The recordings from the webinars are generally able to be posted to our Rally Hood, Cookie Manager Rally Hood. We have a folder in the links in there for that, as well as there's a YouTube page with Girl Scouts of Eastern Missouri that has the webinars as well. And our webinar, our website staff, he posts them to the website for the Cookie Volunteer Resources. So you can find it three different ways if you want to go back to it or if you know somebody that needs to see it. We do hold these at 6:30 on the webinar dates. And again, if outside of this, there are video trainings available in the eBudde Help Center, as well as the online troop guide. So here we are, just an overview of the time of the season. We are in the program, so we're talking about what's going on during the program. The biggest deadline coming up is that January 29th date for Girl Scouts to submit their paper order card orders to their troop cookie volunteers. So if that's you, make sure that you're collecting those. Your deadline for submission is Monday the 30th, and then we expect cookies, depending on what date that you sign up to pick them up, sometime the week of February 13th, and then cookie booths begin that following weekend already. So I feel like we're just blowing through the season already, and I can't believe we're so far in already. But things that you need to be thinking about is planning for extra cookies if you're doing booths and how you're going to get those. Where you want to pick up your initial order cookies next month. And then you also will be submitting your initial rewards for your troop. We'll talk about that a little bit later. All right, so the initial order phase, that's what we're in right now. That for this year takes place January 7th through the 30th. So that is really at the pre-order period when we don't have cookies in hand. So it is the biggest part of the cookie program here in Eastern Missouri. We are an order taking council, which means we do have the pre-orders. So Girl Scouts are out there doing girl delivery orders through Digital Cookie and taking orders through various other methods on those paper order cards or in other ways. And then those are submitted, and then the troop picks all those orders up only next month. Okay, so this, I just want to remind all of you, if you did not see the message that we sent out on Friday, that we had to make a change to one of the features available in Digital Cookie. It is where parents can enter their Girl Scouts paper order card totals, just as an easier way to get it to the troop versus giving them a piece of paper. That feature we turned off because the backside of it that you all need to access in order to transfer the information to eBudde was not pulling information correctly. And we did not want all of you to be entering amounts of cookies that were way too high or way too low for what your Girl Scouts actually needed. So that report was not correct. And we were not confident that it would be fixed in time, as it had not been fixed yet. So we deactivated it, and we're going old school. And Troop Cookie volunteers will have to collect that information with the actual paper order cards, or using something else if you have another method that you wish to have your parents enter. So if you want to create a Google Doc, you can send the link to all your families and have them enter their totals there. It's really up to you, but please make sure you tell your families not to use that feature. If they can't use it anymore, please do not use that initial order report from Digital Cookie. It will not give you accurate information. And make sure you tell your troop families how you want to get their paper order card totals. So communicate that pretty quickly. I know we've already been receiving inquiries from families in our case queue that say, hey, where'd it go? They had not been communicated from their troop volunteer yet. So make that the number one thing that you want to do so that you get the orders that you need and you can enter them accurately into eBudde. And thank you. We apologize for the convenience. It's the second year of that feature. Didn't like how it worked last year very well, but they said it was working well this year, and it is not. So we just made the decision to make sure that you all had it correct and we deactivated it. Okay, so eBudde is where you will need to enter paper order card totals. This is for the only things that you will need to enter are the items from the paper order card. So paid orders through Digital Cookie will automatically show up in your initial order report or initial order tab in eBuddies. You need not double enter any of that. Plus your paper order packages that you enter into the initial order tab. Those are the ones that you will pick up next month. The ones that you submit in your initial order tab. That is only what you'll get, plus any extras that you've got in there as well. Donated packages that have been submitted by a customer in Digital Cookie, they will be tabulated with every Girl Scouts initial order rewards, but you will not see them on the initial order tab because they are not packages that you will receive physically. They will be ones that we take care of later on. So they're counted towards everything, but you don't pick them up. So don't panic if you don't see them there. And one thing just to note, you'll see them there that as you begin to enter varieties in there, and you'll probably already see it if you have Digital Cookie orders with any of the Girl Scouts. There'll be others extras charity. There'll be a number there. You might wonder where that comes from. That number comes from the roundup. So if you've got a total among all your Girl Scouts of say 23 packages of Thin Mints, the system automatically rounds that up to 24 packages. That's the nearest case of 12. So that means your troop will get one extra package of Thin Mints. And everything in the numbers here is in packages. So make sure that if you are ordering extras in your booth line or just other extras for your troop, you are putting total packages, not total cases. Okay, so when you are going to enter, you've got your paper orders from your Girl Scouts in front of you, and you go into that initial order tab in eBudde. Before you even do that please make sure that you can get into eBudde. If you've not been in yet, you definitely need to make sure that you have access. Even today, we've been getting emails from people who have not been in and noticed that they didn't have their access. And we definitely don't want anybody to panic that they can't enter what they need to over the weekend when the answer center is not available all day long. So please make sure you do that during business hours so you can reach out to us if we do need to add you. And then also double check your list of Girl Scouts in eBudde. Girl Scouts are still registering, and if we didn't do a recent data import, that Girl Scout might not be showing up in your troop yet. So double check that list too, so that she's ready to go when you're ready to enter her paper orders in there. We are doing another data import from our membership system into eBudde later this week. We always do it before the initial order deadline. So that'll capture some girls naturally, but we can always manually add them ahead of time. So once you're in there, you've got, your Girl Scouts there, you've got her numbers. This is what it should look like. And you want to click on her name. You don't have to click directly on the name in black there. You can click the general area around it, within the lines, it'll take you to the screen to enter the totals by variety. It looks a little bit different than last year. Once you have that, you'll see a screen that pops up. It looks like this on the right. If you do this in your app, your screens will look similar in terms of entering the quantities. So this is the web screenshot from the website, but the screens are very similar. So once you confirm that that's your ed, so this is Aaliyah, for example, in here. You know that Aaliyah has 10 packages of adventurefuls and treefuls. Make sure you're entering them by package in there, and it should total it up at the bottom. Once you double check everything and count, you feel like you're good, go ahead and click save. Those numbers will then, it'll take you back to this screen, and those numbers should show up in that order card line at the top where Aaliyah's name rests. Any digital cookie orders that the customers have already paid for during this time, that will show up on that DOC Girl Delivered line, and then together they'll have that total order for that Girl Scout. Okay, so let's talk about digital cookie sales in eBudde, because I mentioned that stuff flows directly over to that. Oh, again, only customer paid orders flow over to digital cookie. Any parent that already entered some paper totals under that My Cookies tab in digital cookie, those are gone. They never showed up correctly. So they do need to provide that information to you in total in another way. But if that report was functioning correctly, it still would not have transferred over to eBudde directly. You would always have had to enter those manually into eBudde. Fingers crossed it gets fixed next year, and that the totals actually transfer directly over to eBudde. I know that is something that they're working on. Okay, so when you are looking at your cookies holistically for your trip, you have two tabs. The initial order is only the cookies that are paper order cards during this time, and those the digital cookie girl delivery ones before they cut off. Everything else is listed in that girl orders tab. So typically we would see shipping orders in that girl orders tab. Obviously we don't have those at this time right now. So you'll see donation orders or negative numbers, negative dollar amounts. Where you see those negative dollar amounts, those are girl delivery orders from digital cookie. Once you submit your initial order, that information changes a little bit, and there'll be an initial order locked line. You might even see it right now. And so there'll be a dollar amount, like totals of all those digital cookie orders that were paid for, that balance out that negative. So don't let it throw you off right now. But that's what those are. And that's where you can see the order numbers and the detail of a girl's digital cookie orders and stuff over there. This is in your glossary, in your troop guide, this information to the right. So what these DOC things mean. So eventually we'll be seeing these DOC ship and ship plus. But right now you'll mostly see DOC DON, which is a donated order for Project Thank You, and DOC in hand, which that we will not see that till next month once the in hand feature on February 10th is activated. And then DOC DLVR is in-person delivery, which is the bulk of those digital cookie transactions. And then DOC DLVR plus is donation. So that plus always signifies that it was one method plus a donation. Your shipped and donated orders will always appear in your girl orders tab. That's where they live, because there's not actual physical packages that you would ever need to take possession of for your troop there. So if you feel like you're looking at digital cookie and you see order totals and you've got 500 packages for your Girl Scouts there, but then you look at your initial order tab and it doesn't equal 500, it's probably because there's some donated packages showing up over in the Girl Orders tab. Okay. All right, and want to mention, in case you are dealing with the girl delivery orders and digital cookie can be confusing after your initial order submission. So one tool that you do have is a report in eBudde. If you've not been to your reports tab in eBudde yet, definitely take some time to play around with them and take a look at the information that it provides to you. But there is this girl delivery varieties only by girl report. So I've circled it here. I don't really have a screenshot of what it is. It comes up as a spreadsheet and with a couple different tabs, and only one of the tabs has all the data that you want. The other tabs are just not really much of anything on there. But this will show which girl delivery orders have come in for your troop by each girl for growth in digital cooking. There is a column on there that shows whether or not the order was included in the initial order. So if you pulled up that report today, you'd most likely, unless you've already submitted your troop's initial order, you would likely see every transaction would be included in the troop's initial order. Now, after you have submitted your initial order, this and girls are still getting girl delivery orders in digital cookie because they've got it turned on still. That should look different for those transactions, and that can help you just kind of understand which packages a girl still needs to get her hands on. Excuse me. Okay. But yeah, take a look at that report and look at it every so often or every week just to get a pulse of what orders are still outstanding for a Girl Scout that she needs to get cookies for to deliver. All right, so getting extra cookies. You've entered all your girls' paper orders. You can see what your troop is getting as far as the extras for when it has rounded up to the nearest case. And you're like, okay, I still want some more because it's not enough for my troop to do a cookie booth. So what are your options? You can add additional packages to the initial order before you ever submit it. When you scroll down, there'll be a couple of lines on there that will be a line for booth. And if you had cookie booths, you ordered cookie booth cookies with your initial order last year, that total will show up as a reference so that you know how much you got last year for comparison's sake. It'll also show if you ordered extras last year and what that number looks like so that you can make the decisions this year. But you can add additional cookies to those lines and you click on the line just like you would a girl's name. So if you want to add booth cookies, click on that line for booth, and then it'll pop up a screen that looks just like what you did for your Girl Scout. And you can enter by package how many you want by variety there. And click save, and that will add. Every time you add cookies, booth cookies and stuff, it will change that case roundup. So you might have to play with it a few times if you're trying to get to a certain case number or you're trying to avoid additional roundups and stuff. So excuse me, if you add some booth cookies and you realize it gives you one extra, puts you over, you might want to reduce that. All right, the other options for getting extra cookies for your troop would be putting in an order with a cookie cupboard to pick up after February 17th. And later in the season, there's more troop transfers going on. So troops maybe didn't sell out their cookies at a booth, and so they put them on what we call the cookie exchange in eBudde, and other troops can go and look for cookies, extra cookies there, and help alleviate the burden of a troop's extra inventory by taking it off their hands. And so there's a troop-to-troop transfer at that time. We'll talk about cookie cupboards and that process at the webinar after next week's, but there is information in your troop guide about how to submit a pending order next month because orders are required in order to visit a cupboard and get cookies. All right, so we get questions from troops about, well, how many cookies should I order if I want to order extras for my booth? And that's it's not no hard or fast rule for it. It really is dependent upon where your booth is located and what your troops' goals are. So if you're really just looking for the experience for your Girl Scouts this first year, because booths are so important, as part of the cookie experience to provide girls a different activity to do with one another instead of selling individually to friends and families. So if you're just looking for the experience, you might just want to order 100 extras, and you get rid of them, you get rid of them. But if you really have high goals and you're doing some booths at grocery stores, you know you're going to order sell a lot, then you have to bump up that a little bit in order to meet the demand. Excuse me. If you're doing a booth at a higher volume location like a Walmart or Deerberg's, just as a reference, last year, troops who did booths at Deerberg's averaged about 200 packages and about 218 at Walmart. But overall, the booth average was 176 packages last year and 146 2 years ago. So if that gives you some idea of what to get, and then the breakdowns you see in front of you, and that is percentage of sales total for our council last year. The one thing you need to keep in mind, and troops that are more experienced have a better sense of this, but the market. So having a booth in, say, the city of St. Louis might have different buying trends than a booth in Kirksville or something. Different cookies are popular in different areas a little bit more. So if you have a sense of that based off of what your maybe paper order cards are, that can help you decide, well, maybe I need to get more than 12% of adventurefuls because people ordered 20% of those. So that's just something to think about as you plan your ordering. So once you have submitted your troops initial order, so you've got everything entered, you've double checked, you feel confident that's what you want, you will click submit. And then you will want to then go over to the delivery tab, and we'll talk about that in a sec. Okay, so your delivery tab is where you are going to need to choose where and when you're picking up your cookies. So if the majority of our troops will be picking up and having to select a slot between February 13th and February 19th. You will not be able to do this until you have submitted your order because the system needs to know how many cases you are picking up in order to provide enough slots in that pickup schedule. So you do this in the delivery tab, and it will give you this left side piece first where it says the varieties, total cases by variety. And then below it says who's picking up your cookies. If you're picking up your cookies or another representative from your troop is, make sure you select that one. But there are options. So maybe you have a sister troop or you have more than one troop and somebody's picking up the cookies for each other. Make sure that you note that on here. So if it's some other troop is picking up, you click that, then you don't pick a select at the time. The other troop will pick up or select that time to pick up your cookies as well. If you are picking up for another troop, make sure you click yes, and it'll pull in that information so it knows how much time to allot for your pickup. And then you would go ahead and choose your pickup date and time. Your troop cookie manager guide, your quick start guide has this as well. It has the list of pickup sites. There have been one or two slight changes to locations on there. So the latest and greatest should be an eBudde and also in the online guide, troop online guide. I know there was a change to the pickup location out in Washington, but I think everything else is the same. So once you've got that, there'll be this drop down. I click the drop down here and it'll show all the locations and dates and such. Let's clear the next screen. Okay, so you choose which date and which location you want. And then once you select that, it'll tell you how many slots you need, and you can look at the schedule. It'll have The view is a little bit different if you're not used to it, but it has lines. So this one, the example shows line 1. If you click the little arrow next to it, it'll show you another line, which by lines, that means that site is doing multiple concurrent troop pickup at a given time slot. So at 7:30, we can do 3 different troops picking up at that time. So if you don't see in line 1, you want to say you want to pick up at 7:30, and it's already full on line 1. Click over to line 2, see if there's any openings at that time. So you can scroll through those. I apologize, I'm getting over a cold here. But yeah, look through, you can scroll down to see what times are available. We do ask that whenever possible, try to select a time that is adjacent to one that's already full. We really want to make the most of the time of the staff that are working, from the warehouse volunteers or warehouse staff. And it's really challenging to have huge hour gaps of time in between pickups. So if we see that there's a location that has these huge gaps, we may reach out to the troops and say, hey, would you be willing to come a little bit earlier so that we can be more efficient with the times there, and then we would be able to move that for you. But once you've got a time and you know how many slots you need, go ahead and click on that time, and it'll fill in your troop number for those slots. And once you're confident you're good, go ahead and click submit. And you should get a page that looks a little bit like this. So I'll go back a little bit. You won't see this full confirmation quite yet because of we might have to go back and make some changes to the schedule before everything's officially submitted. But come February 3rd, after we've submitted our initial order to the baker, your confirmation will be available to you. So you go back to that delivery tab and click on your delivery confirmation, and you'll see this information. You can choose to email it to yourself or print it off for your records. It gives you your pickup information, how many cases you're getting, and recommendations on what kind of vehicle you need to accommodate that pickup. You do not need the printed version to pick up your cookies, but please make sure that whoever is picking up has at least the printed or can pull it up on their phone as their proof that they're allowed to pick up those cookies for your troop. All right, so I think I'm moving over to Whitney now to talk about after you submit your order, after you submit your pickup time or choose that, you'll need to do initial awards. Whitney, can you tell us what they need to do there?
Yes, I can. The next thing for submitting initial order rewards would be to submit your troops initial order rewards. These rewards will come in with the rest of the rewards after the program is finished, but you need to submit at this time so that the system stops counting packages toward initial order rewards. In the rewards tab, you will be able to see your troops initial order rewards. Please note, these rewards are only the initial order rewards, the 150 plus package rewards listed on your order card. So verifying your troop settings. One last thing to do is to verify your troops information in your settings tab, specifically your troops bank account and your opt-out settings. To make changes, click edit. If you are opting out of rewards, you will have to contact the answer center so product program staff can update the settings now. Opt out of settings cannot be changed once initial orders are submitted due to the impact on the rewards order. And here is a overview of your Troop Cookie Manager guide online. And it also, we have information about your initial order cookie pickup on page 38 of this guide that also gives you a lot of helpful information as well. So it is linked online at gsem.org where you can go and look through this online. So stay connected through Rallyhood. Remember, Rallyhood is not a replacement for the Answer Center. Rallyhood is a community for our volunteers to come and share knowledge based on their experience along with other insights. So here are some next steps. Set a deadline with families to submit their paper order cards to you. Make sure eBuddy shows all Girl Scouts in your troop. Enter order cards, and remember, you can save as many times as you would like, but you can only submit one time. Submit your initial order and initial order rewards. Then select a delivery location, date, and time. Verify your troop's bank account and opt-out settings. Extra support hours will be available through the Answer Center on January 29th from 4 to 8 p.m. and January 30th. There will be support available through 8 p.m. Request girl delivery in activation for troop if needed. Keep an eye on negative balances for girls, as those are unfulfilled girl delivery orders.
I'll just clarify that one last piece there. That is, keep an eye on that after you submit your troop's initial order. And we'll talk about that at a future webinar.
So here are some of our program updates and support. Make sure that you are tuned in with our eBudde emails just in time. Make sure you don't have any opt-out in your settings where you cannot receive the emails. And if you're still not able to receive the emails, we do also put it on Rallyhood under the files link in Rallyhood. And also there is the eBudde Help Center to help you out as well. We have a plethora of videos on the eBudde Help Center that is here to help. We have all types of knowledge for you guys. So, and we are also here to help you as well. The eBudde dashboard messages, the Cookie Bites webinars, and the Cookie Chat FB Live, the True Cookie Manager Guide online, and the GSEM Answer Center, the Cookie Manager Rallyhood, and Girl Scouts SEM.org cookies, and littlebrowniebakers.com. These are all supports to all of our volunteers that are here to give you very insightful information. So we are here to help, and we thank you all so much for being volunteers.
Yeah, thank you, Whitney. And yes, I echo that. Thank you so much. I know the cookie work is a lot, and that's why we have all these supports in place for you. And that community of Rallyhood, which you can go to for advice from other troops, is and a great way to get updates from us this year as well. So we have that's all of our presentation this evening. I know we have some questions in the chat that we'll go ahead and get to in just a moment.